I was 23 when I met him, Nathan. It wasn't love at first sight. Not the kind of whirlwind romance people write songs about or talk about in movies. It was slow, gradual, the kind of love that crept up on me when I least expected it. I was in my last year of college, juggling endless assignments, late nights, and the pressure to figure out what I was going to do with the rest of my life. My world was full of deadlines, expectations, and a future that seemed more uncertain with each passing day. But then Nathan came into my life, and suddenly everything felt like it had meaning. It started with a casual encounter, a friend of a friend, someone who I saw at parties and social gatherings, but didn't think much about. Nathan was the type of person who could blend into any crowd, the kind of guy you wouldn't notice at first, but who, once you really looked at him, you couldn't help but be drawn to. He had this quiet confidence about him, an ease that made people feel comfortable. But beneath that calm exterior there was something deeper, a vulnerability, a sadness in his eyes that I couldn't place. I had always been attracted to people with depth, people who had lived and learned, who had stories to tell, and Nathan, despite the outward ease with which he interacted with everyone, seemed to have stories locked away. There was a part of him that he kept hidden, and for some reason I wanted to know what that part was. It didn't take long for us to start talking. Our first conversation was about music. I was sitting at the bar at a party when Nathan approached me with a smile, asking if I had heard the new album by one of our favorite artists. That conversation turned into another, and before I knew it, we were spending more and more time together. I liked him. I liked him in a way I hadn't liked anyone in a long time. A steady, comforting feeling that I didn't have to chase after. He was just there, and that was enough. But as much as I liked him, I didn't expect it to go anywhere. I was busy with my studies. My life was already complicated enough without adding the stress of a relationship, and Nathan seemed to have his own thing going on. He had a job, a small group of friends, a life that didn't seem to need anyone else in it. I never told him how I felt. I didn't want to complicate things. And deep down, I told myself I couldn't afford to fall for someone who seemed so detached, someone who had a life that didn't involve me. It was only after a few months of spending time together that I realized how much I cared for him. And even then, I didn't want to admit it to myself. I tried to dismiss it. But the more time we spent together, the more undeniable it became. I was falling for him, slowly, quietly, but completely. One night, after a long week of studying, Nathan invited me over to his apartment. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary. We had hung out countless times before. We made dinner together, talked, laughed about stupid things, and shared our favorite books and movies. But that night, something felt different. There was an electricity between us, a tension that I hadn't felt before. When he looked at me, his gaze lingered just a little too long, and I could feel my heart start to race. And then, without warning, he kissed me. It wasn't a passionate kiss. It wasn't a kiss that made the world stop. It was tender, soft, almost hesitant, as if he too was unsure about what this meant. But it didn't matter, because in that moment, everything changed. My mind was racing, my heart was pounding, and all I could think was that this was the beginning of something I had longed for. Something real. But when he pulled away, I saw the hesitation in his eyes. He wasn't ready. I could feel it. He wasn't ready to let me in, to let me be a part of his world. I wanted to ask him why, wanted to know what was going through his mind, but I didn't. I just let it go. Over the next few weeks, things between us became strained. He was distant, colder than usual, and I found myself questioning every word, every gesture, wondering if I had done something wrong. I tried to give him space, tried to pretend I didn't notice the growing distance between us, but it was impossible. I missed the easy conversations, the carefree laughter we had shared. It felt like the moment we had shared was a lie, like nothing had changed. Finally, one night, after weeks of confusion and uncertainty, Nathan invited me over again. I walked into his apartment, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew this was it. I knew we needed to have the conversation that neither of us had been willing to have. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice quiet, "about us." I swallowed, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Me too," I said softly. He sighed, running his hands through his hair. "I don't know how to say this, but I think it's better if we stop seeing each other." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I had known this was coming, but hearing him say it out loud made it real. My chest tightened, my throat closed up. I wanted to cry, wanted to beg him to stay, but I didn't. I couldn't. "I don't want to hurt you," he continued, his voice breaking a little. "But I'm not in a place where I can be in a relationship. I care about you, Lily. I really do. But I have a lot of stuff I need to figure out. And I can't bring you into that. I'm not ready for this." I nodded, trying to hold back the tears that were threatening to fall. "I understand," I whispered. I thought we had something." He reached out and touched my hand, his eyes filled with regret. "I thought so too. But sometimes feelings aren't enough. I can't give you the love you deserve." And just like that, everything I had hoped for, everything I had longed for, slipped through my fingers. We sat in silence for a long time, both of us unsure of what to say next. Finally, I stood up, my heart breaking with every step. "I hope you figure things out, Nathan," I said, my voice shaky. "I really do." He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. We both knew this was the end of something beautiful but fleeting, something that could never be. Walking out of his apartment that night, I felt a strange sense of finality. I knew I would always love him, that he would always have a place in my heart. But I also knew that love wasn't enough to make someone stay. Sometimes the timing is just wrong. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, love isn't enough. Over the next few months, I threw myself into my work, my studies, and my personal growth. I stopped looking for love in places where it couldn't be found. I started to heal. And though it hurt, though there were nights when I cried myself to sleep, I learned that letting go of someone doesn't mean you've lost them. It just means that you've accepted that sometimes love isn't meant to be. Nathan and I never spoke again after that night. We both moved on. But the love I felt for him will always be a part of me. It taught me about vulnerability, about the beauty of loving someone, and the pain of knowing that love can't always be returned. It taught me that sometimes the hardest thing to do is let go. And though our love story was broken, it was still real, and that in itself was enough.